victory parade yesterday here locally. The jury restarted deliberations this morning in the murder trial of former deputy and U.S. Marshal Task Force law enforcement officer Jason Meade. They had to restart deliberations because they dismissed a male juror yesterday after the jury got the case in the afternoon. That's a little weird, but there are several things about this trial of Jason Meade that are more than weird, including the fact that the prosecution was allowed to bring a Johnny-come-lately witness to the table who admitted that he's been following the trial on social media, who admitted that he deleted his Facebook posts that were critical of the defense case. So it gets weirder and weirder and weirder. And of course, they are bracing downtown for protests, maybe riots, who knows, but there's a heavy law enforcement presence around the courthouse where the case is being decided. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and guess that the riots will happen only if Jason Meade is acquitted. If Jason Meade is found guilty, I'm going to guess the riot threat goes away. Why is that? Why is that? That the right side of the aisle, the right-leaning side of the aisle, I don't mean the correct side, because while I have my strong opinions about the joke that it is that Jason Meade is being charged in this case, I don't ultimately know what's right or wrong in this case. But it's interesting, isn't it, that the bracing for riots, whether it's in America's major cities or here with the Jason Meade trial, it's only if the outcome of an election goes one way, or only if a verdict goes one way, or is a riot a reasonable threat in the aftermath of that. But that side of the aisle would tell you that they're the ones who are defending democracy and who care about upholding the law and all that. So evaluate that as you will. The shooting at the Super Bowl parade yesterday, very tragic, and could have been worse. At this point in time, we have one deceased victim, and she looks like a wonderful lady. DJ in Kansas City, did a lot of weddings, had a show on a radio station there, beloved figure, a mom. She was killed by this shooter who had an AK-47, or an AR-15 rather, and 8 of the victims had immediately life-threatening injuries, transported to hospitals within 10 minutes. 7 had life-threatening injuries of another sort, so 15 with life-threatening injuries. 6 had minor injuries. And you know what happens in the aftermath of a shooting like this, right? Until we know the politics of the shooter, the immediate narrative is, well, the shooter used a gun, so if we just got rid of the guns, we get rid of all the violence in this country. It's a very shallow take on the issue, but it is often put out there by the left, and in the case of the left in this instance, not just Vice President Kamala Harris, from whom you'd expect some stupid takeaway like that, but from Rich Eisen of the NFL Network. Rich Eisen tweeted yesterday, 9 children who went to a parade to celebrate their Super Bowl team. 9 children are now being treated for gunshot wounds. When are we going to collectively realize there's a gun problem in our country and do something sensible for our kids? Well, in the inner cities of America, most of the people who are committing mayhem are people who vote Democrat. That's just a fact. Like most of the crime in the inner cities of America are taking place in areas where, when the electoral map comes out in the aftermath of an election, those people, an overwhelming majority of them, somewhere 85% and above, have voted Democrat and continue to vote Democrat, including right here in our own city. Like we have an all-Democrat city council, we have a Democratic mayor, a Democratic law director, we got every single office occupied in the city by Democrats. So the city must vote Democrat. We've had astronomical murder rates in the city of Columbus for years and years and years throughout the tenure of America's murder mayor, Andrew Ginther. So if Rich Eisen wants to end, and Democrats want to end violence in the inner cities, and maybe they ought to talk to their constituents about that. That might be, something they would like to try, rather than just saying, take all the guns away. Well, I'm going to get to that later on today. Alan Rogers, sitting in today for Jeff in the producer's chair. The city of Columbus has come up with a program, of course, that's going to fix everything. And guess who gets to pay for it? And of course, it costs more than $1 million. We'll have more on that as the show progresses. No, that's fine. No, it's not. That's not even under Today and Crazy, which we will do at 12:20, as we have done throughout the week. Okay, wonderful. We have no updates yet, no clarity on where the foster mom, Pammy May, 48 years old, is, nor the 5-year-old boy, Darnell Taylor, who she apparently took with her to Cleveland yesterday morning, prompting the Amber Alert. Now, I say apparently took with her because, and I sure wish I didn't have to share these details with you, an affidavit filed with the Franklin County Municipal Court details the 911 call that precipitated the Amber Alert. Now, Pammy May and her husband were the foster parents of this young man, Darnell Taylor. So the way this all began, I don't know if I can assume that Pammy May's husband, that his last name is May. I'm gonna refer to him as the husband in this narrative. So the husband calls 911 because he is afraid for the safety of the little boy, based upon something that the husband's wife, Pammy May, told him. And here's what the affidavit says. I'll just read it to you. The affidavit says the man told a 911 operator that his wife, Pammy May, said she killed the child, telling the 911 operator that May said, that's the wife, May said the boy was no longer alive and had not been seen since Monday or Tuesday. And again, this call came in the wee hours of Wednesday morning, just after, like a couple hours after midnight. According to the court documents, according to this affidavit, the husband, upon hearing this, then got, I assume he's in bed, I don't know, but I assume he's in bed, searched the house for 5-year-old Darnell Taylor before calling police, so before calling 911. And then he said, and this is chilling, while he was on the phone, Pammy May, the foster mom, tried to cover her husband's mouth, saying she had a plan. So the husband stays on the phone with 911. She leaves the house, gets in the vehicle, and drives north on I-71 to Cleveland, where sometime around 6-ish a.m., about an hour after the Amber Alert was issued, police in Brooklyn, Ohio, which is around the Cleveland airport, found the vehicle at an apartment complex, but didn't find her, and they didn't find the boy. So they're still looking for him. They're still looking for her. She has been charged with first-degree felony kidnapping and third-degree felony endangerment of a child. So what no news report has made clear to me is if there's someone who had eyes on the child when she left and went toward Cleveland. Like, she's charged with kidnapping, and that may just be a thing where if a kid is unaccounted for, you can charge her with kidnapping. But this affidavit says she told her husband the child was dead. And then she's charged with kidnapping. So to me, like, to be charged with kidnapping, and I'm not an attorney, but I assume you'd have to have evidence that there was a child in your presence to be charged with kidnapping. But that's just a horrific story. And boy, let's just pray that little boy is found, and pray she's, found and doesn't do herself harm. And she's clearly got some mental issues going on here, either exaggerating the condition of the child or admitting to what she's done, which would be horrific. And the foster system, wow, that would be a rock, that system for sure.
Cloudy, windy, and mild showers. Breezy this evening.
And in that interrogatory, they asked you if you had any receipts for travel with someone of the other sex.
No
Up until the time you were answering.
Sun breezy on Saturday.
Is that correct?
For the afternoon, the high at 30.
And you said that you didn't, you've already testified to that earlier, but in this affidavit, you said, you swore that you had travel expenses, shared expenses on travel.
98.9 FM, the answer.
Again,
Attention business owners, medical
during the
professionals,
course of my
taxpayers,
marriage,
not so simple.
I had no relationship with
throughout the
receipts.
year.
I'm not asking about during the course of your marriage.
I'm CPA Brad Hepper from Premier Tax CPA.
Thank you. I have no
And the
problem
value of
with
using a CPA is getting
As it relates to receipts today,
so we can
I don't
still
have
help you with
any
your
receipts.
financial and tax planning needs. Too often, when you see your
So you
account,
don't have any
only at
travel
tax time, you
receipts,
get that dreaded
available
April
to you
surprise that
for any
you
travel that you did
large
with
tax today.
I
I
don't have
don't
any
really keep
receipts.
score of what you did last year.
no
Premier Tax
receipts
CPAs,
that,
we want to
so
have check-ins with
you're,
our clients at least 3
you
times
used
a
your
year.
business credit card for these trips, correct?
I use my business credit card for
Okay.
everything.
Yes. You use it for tuition.
Survival guide.
Yes, ma'am.
At Premier Tax
Use it for
CPAs,
personal
we're
travel
firm
as well.
to work with
Yes,
you
ma'am.
and your business
And you have
throughout the year.
receipts
Help you make
from those
decisions
business
that
credit cards
work
that you have to
for
file with your tax, correct?
CPAs,
No, ma'am.
614
I filed a statement, turn over the statement. When it was there on the statement, the accountant looks at it, the accountant says, okay, this is personal, goes over here, this is business, goes over here, here are your taxes.
The man is.
So you have the statements, we'll call them statements instead of receipts. That was the statements, correct?
I have the statement, yes, ma'am.
But when you answered the interrogatory under oath, you said you did not have anything. So, records of travel with Ms. Willis.
I answered the question. I had no receipts, ma'am.
You had no receipts, but you had statements.
I ordered the statement, yes, ma'am.
You did order the statement. Okay.
The answer.
And so we're just talking the semantics between invoice and statements or receipt. I'm sorry.
In capsule form. They've got an amazing story.
Argumentative.
How this product is
Comment other
developed.
question, I believe it's an ask against.
Right there on their website.
All right, just a
Check it out. Balanced Nature has over 1,000 success
in-
stories every
let's
single
see.
month. They have hundreds of thousands of customers.
You also in this affidavit said that no funds paid to you for compensation of your role as special counsel will share with Willis, correct?
That's correct.
And non-GMO.
And that you never cohabitated with Willis,
I
correct?
think if you're looking for something
By
to feel better,
cohabitation, does that mean that you never spent the night?
Nature is pride. In
I
fact,
spent the night
today,
doing
Okay.
that.
online or call them direct.
And so I qualify your term, your use of the term cohabitation. That means you didn't live there,
That's correct.
but you did spend the night together.
Use the discount
Yes.
code like
When was the first time you spent the night together?
At
Right.
balanceofnature.com. Use the
That's
discount
the subject of
code
his
like
affidavit, Judge.
35% off.
Right, but it might not be the subject of this hearing. So the question is the nature and extent of the relationship. And so if they just spend the night on a single occasion, I don't think we're gonna. Sometime that happens.
And I don't intend to do that, Judge, but I think what is relevant is.
It's not on my system.
Why don't we start with that question and go from there?
And that's what I asked him the first time he spent the night with us. That's what I asked.
That's a different question, I guess.
That's right.
Okay, so let's not talk about when you spent the night. When did your romantic relationship with Miss Willis begin?
Early 2022.
Life insurance, call today for a quote at
So you were appointed in November of 2021.
You're probably paying
And your relationship started early. What's it, January, February?
25. Remember,
Around March.
Around March.
8525. Sample report based on third non-smokers underwriting exam.
But you two met at an opportunity judicial conference, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
800
And, describe your relationship at that point.
You can catch parts of the Bruce Hooley Show that you miss, should you miss any, and I won't even be mad, as long as you access the podcast, which is available at 9890answer.com. click on listen, click on shows, and then page down. I'm way down there under all, well, not all, but most of the national hosts. But I'm there. And you can check that out in half-hour show increments, but the commercials are removed. So there you go. A lot of reaction yesterday to my assessment. I suppose I could call it a takedown, a criticism of Tucker Carlson for interviews he did with Russell Brand and with an Egyptian journalist in Dubai. I may revisit that because there was one aspect I wanted to leave, one aspect I left out that I want to address. Because I think, as I said, Tucker Carlson puts out some dangerous things, and never more dangerous than when he misquotes scripture. Speaking of dangerous, Joe Biden is just so energetic and full of life and zest that his staff cannot keep up with it. That's what we've learned in the last week. Really, throughout his presidency, we've been told this, right? He gets more done. He's like the old U.S. Army commercials. He gets more done before 6 a.m. than anybody else. Karine Jean-Pierre said he gets more done in an hour, than the rest of us get done all day. So I thought I'd look at Joe Biden's schedule today to find out how many things will be checked off our national to-do list with his dynamic energy. And here is his schedule for the day. They put this out every day. 11:15 a.m. the president receives the presidential daily briefing. 11:15 a.m. When did Trump take the briefing? I think it was like 7 a.m. Most presidents take, it's the daily briefing. You want to know what's going on during the day, what else you got coming up, who you're going to see, what are the fires you got to put out. I mean, Mike Johnson yesterday, not Mike Johnson, Mike Turner. Mike Johnson's the Speaker of the House. Mike Johnson spoke about this, but Mike Turner, congressman from Dayton, who's head of the House Intelligence Committee, said that there's a destabilizing foreign military capability that the Gang of Eight, that's 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats who are on the House Intelligence Committee, that they needed to meet about this today with Jake Sullivan, one of Obama's henchmen. Jake Sullivan, who is our national security advisor, who's so on top of things that, what was it, a couple of weeks before Hamas attacked Israel on October the 7th, Jake Sullivan, Mr. On top of things in terms of global security interests, said that the Middle East had never been more calm. Never been more calm. Whoops. So anyway, Biden today will took the presidential daily briefing at 11:15 a.m. Then there will be a press briefing by Karine Jean-Pierre, Karine Jean identity hire, at 1 p.m. There's nothing else on the president's schedule today. Now, he's not at the daily briefing at the White House at 1 o'clock. So it sure looks to me from his official schedule today that his only presidential duty is to receive the presidential daily briefing at 11:15 a.m. That's it. Yeah. 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 They get it every morning. Oh, well, they call her out all the time. Here's a couple feudal people trying to call her out at past press conferences. They try all the time. Here's a poll here. 86% of Americans say Biden too old to serve as president. So fair question. Here's the question in KJP's stiff arm.
This is a persistent issue. We're going to continue to lead on leadership.
Oh.
Continue to focus on what this president has been able to get done, what the president has been able to get done on behalf of the American people.
Oh, what?
And
Excellent.
look, I'll quote a little bit of what the First Lady said, I think incredibly well, just a couple days ago. President Biden does more in 1 hour than most people do in a day. His age with experience and expertise is an incredible asset, and he proves it every day. And that's what we believe. We believe that his age and his experience, because he was a senator, because he was obviously vice president, because he has these long, long decades of relationships with leaders, obviously across the globe, and what he's been able to do, that's what we're going to lean into. That's what we're going to speak to.
Okay, so did you catch the source on Joe Biden's vitality? The First Lady. She says the First Lady says that he gets done more in an hour than anybody else gets done all day. What's Joe Biden's awareness of what other people get done in a day? Does she have intimate knowledge of what Mike Johnson gets done in a day, of what Mike Turner gets done in a day, of what JD Vance gets done in a day, of what Alan Rogers gets done in a day? But Jill Biden, well, she's a doctor from a community college. She's the source that Joe Biden gets more done in a day, in an hour, than other people get done in a day. And then Karine Jean-Pierre says, that's what we believe. So there you go. And like George Costanza said famously years ago, it's not a lie if you believe it. Of course.
Lead.
I was going to get to that. We're going to continue to lead on leadership. Careful. Yes. Well, I think it means the same as Obama when he said he was going to lead from behind. We're going to lead from behind. So the Biden, Obama, Harris, Obama, Biden, Harris, Obama, 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 Obama administration has coined several curious phrases about leadership, neither of which makes any sense. Now, Joe Biden is scheduled to take a physical examination at some point this week. And a week ago today, we found out that the special counsel said he's a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. So the Democrats have pushed back on that, like Biden gets more done in an hour than a week. A good way to prove that would be to have him take a cognitive test. Every other president has taken one. He has not. Here's the question to Karine Jean-Pierre. Listen to see if she answers the question. Irrelevant. Why will he not take a cognitive test? Irrelevant. Irrelevant. No, she's asking you why he won't take a cognitive test. He's not. So he's not forgetful, but he's constantly pressing them for more information. Wouldn't that be a characteristic of someone who's forgetful? If he's got all the information and he's constantly pushing them for more information?
News. Thomas. Former President Trump's first criminal trial on track to begin later.
They're really going to stick with this ridiculous strategy of telling 9 out of 10 Americans who don't believe the president is sharp enough to do the job of president. They're going to continue to tell us that all that we see, him botching his words, getting world leaders confused, they're going to continue to tell us that we're all wrong and they're right, because they see what we don't see. Like, they see him more hours in the day than we do, because if he was really, really great at everything, they'd put him out there, right, to alleviate these concerns. Like, here's what I would do. If somebody said I wasn't cognitively with it, and I was the president of the United States, I'd say, well, let's go out and hold a press conference, and I'll stand there for an hour and a half, and I'll take questions, and I'll show them I'm cognitively sharp and able to deal with anything. That is how, or release the transcripts of the interview with Robert Hur, or release the tapes of the interview with Robert Hur, or do a sit-down interview with Brett Baer, or do a sit-down interview with somebody who won't lick his boots. So Maddow's out, Joy Reid is out, virtually every employee, well, let's just say every employee of CNN is out. There are a myriad ways you can prove he's sharp and with it. They're not taking any of those avenues or have him take a cognitive test. That's not been, Corinne Jean-Pierre, that's not been my experience. Who cares? Ridiculous.
Find out more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word faith to 989898. Birch Gold Group is the only gold company I trust. Get their free info kit and see how a gold IRA can help you. Text faith to 989898. Remember, there's no strings attached. Text faith to the number 989898 right now, and I pray you're blessed with news, opinion, passion. Here, 98.9 FM, the answer. Anywhere you go, the answers mobile app at 98.9theanswer.com. Also on your smart speakers. Tune in. We're selling a lot of homes. That's right. This is Ross Giorgio of Ross Realtors, and we have already sold a lot of homes in 2024. That's really incredible. But the market is heating up, interest rates are coming down, and houses are coming on the market. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, now's the time to pick an experienced real estate company to represent you. Call Ross Realtors 614-599-6100. That's 614-599-6100. I promise you won't be disappointed. Here's great news. If you plan on attending Ohio Christian University as a new traditional student this fall semester at the Circleville campus, you can receive a $5,000 tuition scholarship for only $2,500. That's right. Get a $5,000 tuition scholarship for only $2,500. One scholarship.
I've got spaces for live reads, like you did.
Admission requirements must be met.
This one is open.
At 989theanswer.com or call RMAT at 614-216-5049. Even before your alarm clock goes off, he's already at the ground.
You'll be up after this.
To tell you what's going on in the world you're waking up to. He's Hugh Hewitt, weekday mornings from 6 to 9 on your station for news, opinion, and passion. 98.9 FM, The Answer.
Hey, I know there's a lot of places that you can go and buy what you're told is the very best steak and the very best beef out there. No shortage of options. You got Good Ranchers, you got Moink, you got Butcher Box, you've got Omaha Steaks. One you maybe haven't heard of, but one I'm happy to tell you about is one that I subscribe to. And I actually subscribe to it. I'm not gifted it. And the reason I subscribe to it is because once I got my cancer diagnosis, I knew I needed to eat much more clean than I was before. No hormones, no antibiotics in beef, wild caught fish, whatever. This that I'm going to tell you about, riverbendranchsteaks.com, is just beef. So it's fillets, New York strips, ribeyes, ground beef by a rancher out west who owns the cattle. They're all his. He breeds them genetically for the best marbling. The processing plant, he spent $160 million to build it on his own land. They butcher them, they flash freeze it, they ship it right to you. It's awesome. riverbendranchsteaks.com/Bruce Hooley, riverbendranchsteaks.com/Bruce Hooley. Boy, Atlanta attorney Nathan Wade is swimming fast, treading water hard to keep from having his illicit relationship and the details of it with Fani Willis, the Atlanta prosecutor going after Donald Trump. Wade and Willis essentially lied about when their relationship started, their romantic relationship started. Now, while I don't morally approve of people cheating on their wives and sleeping around, it's not a crime to do that. But it is a crime for Fani Willis to hire Nathan Wade and pay him way more than she paid any other prosecutor on the case, and then to be involved in an amorous relationship with him and go on opulent vacations with him and lie about when their relationship started, which, whoops, it started before she appointed him to chase after and hound Donald Trump. And this morning I was watching the testimony from Atlanta, and man, were Wade's attorneys, and by connection, Willis's attorneys, trying hard to get everything blocked from coming into testimony, including the ridiculous assertion by Willis's attorneys and Wade's attorneys that Wade's former law partner could not testify about anything Nathan Wade ever told him or anything this former law partner ever observed Nathan Wade do, because since they were business partners, everything this guy had ever seen Wade do or heard Wade say was privileged information. You know, attorney-client privilege, an attorney can't inform on his client. That is for information pertaining to a specific case in which that attorney represents the client. It is not about everything the client and the attorney have ever talked about. And the judge, of course, was respectful but mocking of that particular attempted legal strategy. So Wade is on the stand right now. I'll say this for the guy. He sure dresses well. Man, does he have some nice looking suits. But I guess when you make $600,000 trying to chase Donald Trump because your mistress can pay you that, and then you can take her on cruises and opulent vacations, that's a pretty good gig. That's a pretty good gig. Yeah, he's not an expert in RICO cases, which this is like racketeering cases. He's not an expert at it. But he looks like one because of the suit he's wearing. Let me just tell you that. He looks like one for sure. Speaking of good gigs that ended, we told you yesterday during the show, Chris Holtman got fired as Ohio State's head basketball coach. He gets $12.5 million. Gene Smith came out last night to talk about Chris Holtman having to fire him. And Gene spent not quite 20 minutes answering questions before he said, "I'm sorry, guys, I have to go." It was like 6:15 p.m. Well, they have a women's basketball game against Nebraska. It didn't tip off till 7. I guess Gene was afraid he'd get caught in the rush of fans, that he couldn't get to his seat. And then this morning, other good gigs ending. Jarmo Kekalainen, Blue Jackets general manager, fired. He's been here a long time. He did a good job for a long time. They're struggling now, of course. But Jarmo Kekalainen did a lot of good things. Got him the playoffs 5 times. I can remember years when I thought, is this team ever going to make the playoffs? Jarmo made him a pretty much annual fixture. But I would argue the franchise has been doomed since the day they traded Nick Foligno. Since the day they traded Nick Foligno, it's been downhill. Pretty much like Ohio State since they lost to Oral Roberts in the NCAA tournament. Now let's switch to what your Ohio Supreme Court is doing. I say your Ohio Supreme Court because this is a conservative audience. I'm a talk show host that leans conservative politically. I lean toward the truth, and I mean, obviously no one on the left is telling it. So more often than not, it's being told by those on the right. And I said last year it was very essential, or whenever the election was, maybe it was 2 years ago, that we elect Sharon Kennedy as Chief Justice of the Ohio Supreme Court to replace the agenda-driven Maureen O'Connor, who was mad they made her retire, and so she was making life tough for Republicans trying to set districts in the state of Ohio when it comes to, which districts extend where in terms of who's elected to the Ohio State House, either the House or the Senate. We got O'Connor out, we got Kennedy in. And I'm glad we got Kennedy in. I just wish all the conservatives on the court all the Republicans on the court were conservative, which they decidedly are not. I define a conservative as somebody who has an allegiance to the Constitution. They're guided by the U.S. Constitution. And one of the things I say all the time about the U.S. Constitution is that You don't depart from it just because it's inconvenient. You don't depart from it just because it's hard. You know, you look at the language and you say, well, that's what it says, and that's what we're going to do. And we're going to deal with the fallout of doing it. And the case before the Ohio Supreme Court concerned municipalities, cities, taxing people, which they can do, except when you work in a city, like let's say you live in Johnstown, you drive to Columbus and you work downtown. The city of Columbus can tax you because while you're in Columbus, you presumably are benefiting from Columbus services. You get in an accident, the medics will come. Somebody accosts you on the street, the police will come. You're taking advantage of city services. No problem. City of Columbus should be able to tax you. But if you work for a company that's in Columbus and you're not physically in Columbus, then they shouldn't be able to tax you, because if you had a problem during the day, the people who would come to your house to assist you would be Johnstown people, right? So the city of Columbus should not get your tax dollars if you are not physically in Columbus. Years ago, when I used to work at another radio station in this town, they'd send me out to various assignments. My wife, being very smart, said, keep track of the days you're not working in Columbus, and we'll file at the end of the year for the number of days you're not in Columbus, but you're working on radio remotely, and we'll get a refund for those days from the city of Columbus. And we, in fact, got that refund. Where you live and where you're doing your job, if it's not physically in the city that's taxing you, then you shouldn't be taxed by that city on the days you're not there. Correct. Yes. Now, this, of course, becomes a big problem for cities when something happens like, oh, I don't know, a pandemic. And you're told by the governor of the state of Ohio that you can't go to work. And so some guy in Cincinnati decided, hey, I can't go into the city of Cincinnati. I live in Blue Ash. You can't tax me. I want my money. I want my money that you taxed me for. And he's got every right to it, as does every citizen of the state of Ohio, if we had a Supreme Court that observed the Constitution of the United States, which we don't, because in a 5-2 decision, and the turncoats include Pat DeWine. What a shock that Pat DeWine would side with his brother. They say that Ohio residents have no right to collect an income tax refund, and that it was constitutional for cities to tax you for work you did not do in those cities, because, of course, it would be hard. We'd have a lot of money we'd have to refund. And where were we going to get that money? Well, I don't care where we're going to get that money. I just care that it's due the people who were not allowed to go to work. And it was Mike DeWine's stupid decision that prohibited people from going to work. And so tough noogies, Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, and every other city, you got to come up with the dough and pay people back for the year or year plus that they weren't working in your city. That's how it should be. Who were the good people? Sharon Kennedy and Pat Fisher were the only two who opposed this. That is really disappointing.
Spots, afternoon high today 54, cloudy breezy this evening, partly cloudy late tonight, low 26, clouds with a bit of afternoon snow tomorrow, little or no accumulation, high 37, clouds and sun, breezy on Saturday, colder for the afternoon, the high at 30, and then sunny and windy on Sunday, the high at 43. Monday, it'll be a partly sunny day, high 52. I'm Steve Bruce on 98.9.
A caller wants to talk about what you just talked about. Do you want to take the call next time?
Okay. The IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today. by visiting us online
Jeff?
at TRA.com.
Jeff is an attorney.
800-575-6745.
This guy?
Got the phone?
That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
The new FedNow system is paving the way for the digital dollar. It grants the government unprecedented access to your financial transactions. This isn't just an invasion of privacy, it's a direct assault on your liberty and hard-earned money. It's another reason why I recommend physical gold IRAs from the Birch Gold Group. I'm Lance Walton.
Next live read is my pillow.
IRA can help you avoid the scrutiny of
Okay.
Big Brother while also preserving your retirement savings through almost anything, including economic crashes, political instability, and even hyperinflation. To find out more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word FAITH to 989898. Birch Gold Group is the only gold company I trust. Get their free info kit and see how a gold IRA can help you. Text FAITH to 989898. Remember, there's no strings attached. Text FAITH to the number 989898 right now, and I pray you're blessed with continued prosperity.
This is Dennis Prager. I am excited to announce the all-new Pragertopia Plus. You can listen to my show whenever it's convenient for you, all commercial-free and all on demand. Now with Prager Plus, search topics, guests, and segments all the way back to 2010. And now a truly exciting new benefit, my monthly online video get-together for Pragertopia Plus members only. This is where for an hour each month, Pragertopia Plus members get an exclusive chance to ask me anything. That's right, anything. It's on video. I'll be talking to you and answering your questions. We may even have a special guest every now and then. I've never done this. Submit your questions for me at Pragertopia.com. This is only available to Pragertopia Plus members. This is our chance to connect like never before. Go to Pragertopia.com or click the banner at DennisPrager.com.
Wednesday, March 20th.
We got a little more on taxes here in Ohio and some of the stupid conclusions people bring to the table.
Special guests live on stage. All tickets include food, drink, meet and greet, and Q&A. Tickets are limited for this VIP event, sponsored in part by Adult and Teen Challenge Ohio. Details and tickets available now at 989theanswer.com.
And you know that you can always support a great patriot when you purchase MyPillow products, of course. MyPillow.com, you know Mike Lindell, you know the story, right? Do you know that Mike Lindell affords the benefit of his prosperity to those who are less fortunate? I mean, that's the argument, right, against Mike Lindell, is that, oh, he's an evil guy and he supports Donald Trump and bad for America and all that. Well, did you know that the Lindell Recovery Network offers free drug treatment, not even faith-based, it's faith-grounded. Mike Lindell's life has been saved when he came to faith in Jesus Christ. And he realizes that if anybody's really going to make a transformative change in their life, that gives them the best chance of kicking their drug habit, because once they realize who they are in Christ and that they have value, well, then they won't need to try to seek artificial stimulation. So I like Mike Lindell for what he stands for what he's done. His products are great. I sleep on a MyPillow. I sleep on a MyPillow mattress topper, sheet sets, towel sets. They've got it all. MyPillow.com, promo code Bruce. MyPillow.com, promo code Bruce.
Actually absorb. Also,
we're doubling up on the MyPillow.
So much more. Get the best specials ever. Go to MyPillow.com and use the promo code Bruce. Remember, you get free shipping on your entire order. So go to MyPillow.com, promo code Bruce. MyPillow.com, promo code Bruce.
Do we have, my mic is there. My mic is on. The light is out, Alan. While I was gone, in the 5 months I was gone, we fixed the one light on the board that was out when I left. Now we have another light that's burnt out. So you'll have to fix another light. Yeah, it is an old board. And we'll blame the board for the double up on the MyPillow spots. Let's blame the board. Yeah, we apologize for that. Hey, at 12:05, I'm going to introduce you to Patty Hamilton. Patty is a Republican running in the March 19th Republican primary to become state representative for the 12th district. If you don't know the 12th district, shame on you. Madison County, Pickaway County, and Lower Franklin County. I mean, it's not a quiz. I don't expect everybody in the state of Ohio to know what the 12th district encompasses. But I expect people in the 12th district to know, hey, that's my district. Madison County, Pickaway County, and Lower Franklin County. So Patty will be with us at 12:05. Right now, I believe we have Jeff on the line, an attorney. Jeff, is that correct, Alan? Very good. Jeff, welcome to the Bruce Hooley Show. I'm coughing a little, but otherwise good.
Yeah. Hey, I love your show. I love what you do at the board.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. What can I do for you today? Your cell is cutting out. Are you good? Yeah, okay. Go ahead. I couldn't hear you there for a second. I know they did, but still the Supreme Court can overrule it by saying the law is unconstitutional. That's their job. No, that's not the question. Laws can be passed all the time. Joe Biden passed student loan relief. The Supreme Court said, no, can't do it. Now Biden's still trying to do it, but that's what the Supreme Court of the state of Ohio's job is to rule on the constitutionality of laws. I agree. I'm going to try it a different way. So the legislature's job is to pass laws, correct? Correct? Okay. So then with a law, so then whose job is it, or who has the power to say that a law is constitutional or not and throw it out? Well, it's constitutional only because they said it is, but it's not constitutional. Do you remember a little phrase? Taxation without representation. Why should people have to pay a tax? Okay, explain to me then. When I worked in Columbus and lived in Madison County, and there were about 30 days a year where I didn't work in Columbus, and I was refunded my taxes for that month when I was not in the city of Columbus. Explain to me why that was the case then and why this pandemic situation is any different. I'm aware that a Supreme Court ruling, in this case, thumbs up to the law, technically makes the law constitutional. I agree with that. My argument is that it is not constitutional, and the reason they didn't rule that it was unconstitutional is because it would be inconvenient for them to say it's unconstitutional. Let me read you a quote from Pat DeWine, one of the justices. Ohio had a legitimate interest in ensuring that municipal revenues remain stable amid the rapid switch to remote work that occurred during the pandemic. That may be true that it had an interest in it, but is it in, like another thing they talk about in law is precedent, right? So I know there have to be past cases where people were refunded tax revenue when they were not working physically in the city that was taxing them. Those precedents should carry forward here, even though there are tens of thousands of Ohioans who were not physically going to their work locations. Nothing changed other than the fact that there were more of them, thus making it inconvenient for the cities to refund that money. Inconvenience for the state is not a reason to disadvantage the Ohio taxpayer. Jeff, are you there? No. All right. So the people who are backing this, the Ohio Municipal League, the Ohio Mayor's Alliance, commended the decision. And listen, you can tell from the defense of this that it's not legal, it's just convenient. Carrie McCarthy, Executive Director of the Ohio Mayor's Alliance. The Ohio Supreme Court ruling today avoids what could have been a retroactive physical bombshell to Ohio cities. I don't care. It doesn't, again, inconvenience for cities. Wow, this is really going to have to come up with a lot of money. Yeah, you are. Why are you going to have to come up with a lot of money? Because you took money you weren't entitled to under the laws of the United States, even though our stupid state legislature made a bad law. I don't care. I'll tell you where they're going to get. I'll tell you where they could get $1 million of it at about 12:35 today, because they've come up with a program. Of course they have, where they're going to offer violent offenders the opportunity to say they will accept a program, or you can go to jail with a harsh penalty. Now, how many of them do you think are going to go, no, I want the harsh penalty? Of course, they're all going to take the program. Do you believe that an overwhelming number, and all you have to do is look at the recidivism rates of our criminals in Columbus, do you believe that an overwhelming number of them are going to authentically commit to changing their ways? Or do you believe that they're going to say they're going to change their ways in order to avoid a harsh prison sentence? But we're gonna spend money like we spend it on midnight basketball, and we spend it on this, and we spend it on that, and get no results from it. And then Andrew Ginter's going to say, on my watch, crime has declined.
Professionals and taxpayers with not
Billions from COVID relief. That's
You're not getting advice throughout the year from your accountant to change. I'm CPA Brad Hennebert from Premier Tax CPAs, and the true value of using a CPA is getting advice throughout the year and during the year, so we can still help you with your financial and tax planning needs. Too often, when you see your accountant only at tax time, you get that dreaded April surprise of an unexpectedly large tax bill. Then we're really only keeping score of what you did last year. At Premier Tax CPAs, we want to have check-ins with our clients at least 3 times a year, because proper planning is that important. See us before February 15th and get a free copy of my latest book, The Ohio Business Owner's Tax Survival Guide. At Premier Tax CPA, our attorney wants to work with you and your business throughout the year to help you make decisions before it's too late. Give us a call at Premier Tax CPAs, 614-524-4888. That's 614-524-4888. Find us at 9890theanswer.com. Download our apps. Stream us 24/7. WTOH and WTOH HD1, Upper Arlington, Columbus.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. A judge setting a March trial date in Donald Trump's New York, quote, hush money case. Here's correspondent Julie Walker.
Trump is here in this New York court for his hush money case involving alleged payments made during his 2016 presidential campaign to bury stories that the former president had extramarital affairs, something Trump denies. The former president is also facing 3 other criminal cases. 2 election interference cases, 1 in D.C., another in Georgia, plus a classified documents case in Florida. At Manhattan Criminal Court, I'm Julie Walker.
And a former friend and co-worker of Fulton County District Attorney Bonnie Willis has testified in Georgia. Willis' personal relationship with the special prosecutor began before he was hired in the election interference case against Mr. Trump. Also at townhall.com. After months of heavy fighting, Russian troops appear close now to surrounding the ruins of Avdiivka.
Hey, that'll do it for today. Remember, if you need flooring, soft step carpet in Plain City, I sell flooring for them. You can send me an email, brucehooley@gmail.com, and I'll get you hooked up. riverbendranchsteaks.com, riverbendranchsteaks.com/Bruce Hooley, and we'll get you hooked up with all the best steaks, beef, and everything else that you want. No hormones, no antibiotics ever. That'll do it for hour number one. Don't think there'll be a Bruce Hooley after show today because I have a flooring appointment, but we'll be back tomorrow. Appreciate your time. Hope you have a great day.
I'm talking about the cruise, the actual cruise. Have it